So, hey everybody, this is your girl Erica from the Classy Climb blog, coming today with a topic that you guys know I love because I'm a big fan of Dr. Claude Anderson and I want to chop it up with you. But I have to thank my guest for coming on today and helping me dissect this conversation. Please introduce yourself to the audience, Mr.
Hey, Ericka. I'm Camari Ellis, the founder of the Philly tax team, affectionately known as the Finance Rebel. I'm a tax accountant, so I solve tax issues every day. I'm a former stock market portfolio manager, and I'm a recovering financial advisor. So I've been around a little bit.
Listen, the best part about it, he's in Philly, y'all. I'm going to go get that cheesesteak. I'm telling y'all. Now, listen, there's nothing that makes me madder than hearing about black spending power. But
Really?
yes, because I find the term offensive, right? We don't say black wealth, we don't say black investments, we don't talk about a lot of things in our black community. But there's this term that you keep hearing floated on TV, and I feel like it's almost a marketing term for others. Hey, black people got all this money to spend in your store, to spend on your products, to spend with your new whatever if you bring it to America. And it's frustrating. And so there's a video I want us to look at. Um, and so I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's go ahead and share that screen. This is the video we're going to share talking about black spending powder. Definitely, you guys, take some notes because we're going to go over it.
And Frank Holland joins us this morning with a closer look at the growth in black spending power. Frank.
Hey, good morning to you, Andrew. Black spending power reached a record $1.6 trillion in 2021. The ability to buy, save, and invest more than doubling since 2000. That growth exceeding the full U.S. economy, but actually lagging other ethnic groups, Latinos with a 288% increase, Asians with a 388% increase in spending power. However, other groups, they've also seen an increase in their net worth. Black Americans instead have seen their wealth actually fall by 14%. And with the S&P gaining 27% last year, the value of U.S. homes increasing by 31% last year. Many black leaders are asking the black community to really rethink how it spends.
Save money.
Y'all, I don't like no Bob Johnson. Just for the record.
Shout out to Bob. Shout out to Bobby.
Bob did a good thing, and then now he got us watching Baby Boy for 4 hours a day. I mean, I need Bob to not do us like that. But okay, go ahead.
To purchase the most important asset you'll probably ever own, and that's your home. And that to me is equally important. As I said, I'd put it right up there with arguing or campaigning for or supporting voting rights.
I would love to see us spend more money in the stock market. And
first of all, who asked Angela Yee to speak on black people's wealth?
She's black. She's black. Listen,
I got to go Google. Let me go Google.
Google you. I think her father's Chinese and her mother's black or something like that. But listen, if the Klan comes through, they doing the one drop rule, and so she getting lumped in, and that she reps black culture. So I consider Angela black.
They'll be Angela's legs. Okay, so hold on. Let me finish.
Instead of buying the hottest new thing, buy the stock of the hottest new thing, and that's something that you can also pass down generation to generation.
Home ownership is typically the biggest wealth builder in the black community.
Also, note something I want to note. The anchor that's talking, I wonder how they came to him and asked him to do this segment. Because they did not want to do this segment. He looks like, good morning. I'm here for the black segment. Thank you.
That's actually fallen more than 3% since 2000. And annually, black families accumulate $300 billion less in wealth than white families, and they save $75 billion less. The racial wealth gap now at more than $11 trillion. Back over to you.
Frankie, the statistics are startling and fascinating in so many different ways. Do business leaders and other experts have thoughts on how to stop the trend and what's really behind it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, some of it is simply allocating more capital to assets that at least have the potential to appreciate, things like houses, stocks, and bonds. Other reasons are systemic, and that's why about 1 out of every 5 black family has a negative net worth right now. Systemic issues, redlining in housing, disparities in education, and other issues that are going to take a longer time to address.
Awesome. So
I was
in
shocked they
that,
brought up redlining. That's a major issue. Still a
that
major
part,
issue.
that part. So here's some of my 2 cents on that. There's some of my 2 cents on that, right? Because we just heard some crazy numbers. We just heard some crazy numbers. If I'm not mistaken, he just said 288% increase Latino,
Hmm.
380% increase Asian. So people will sit here and argue, well, the Asians are on tech, but what are the Latinos doing? They're working. They in what? Construction. What's going to boom for the next 10 years in the Southeast? Construction. 48% of all homes purchased in 2020 and 2021 were in the Southeast.
But not just construction, trades.
Trades.
So like they are in industries that are cash flow heavy, and that will be making money for a long time.
It be 57 years old telling somebody how to put something on a toilet. They
Yep.
ain't got to actually bend down to do it. They got somebody can do it for them. And people hate me on YouTube because I love saying this. If you're not getting married, you don't see many single men who want to buy a house. Most single men want to live in a small bachelor pad with a black leather couch and a big TV.
Hmm.
That's just everything else. Bed
Don't
can
forget
be
the
on the
grill.
floor.
Don't
Yeah,
forget the
in the
grill.
grill.
We need that
Bed
grill.
can be on the floor.
Yep.
But they got leather couch, TV. And so
Yeah, maybe a waterbed.
there you go. Right? And I was laughing because I said, show me the only reason you see a lot of more young men going, oh man, I can house hack, is because I think it's been made popular. Airbnb and the house hack term has been made popular. But before that, if they could get an apartment and put that couch in there and that TV in there, they ain't thought about buying no house. I
I
think
would
that's why the
agree.
black people community saw so many women buy houses. And they're like, why are these women buying houses? Well, first of all, nesting. We got to nest. We are a creature of nesting. 2, single moms have children. They can't just keep hopping from apartment to apartment because the costs are going up. But 3, my biggest thing is if we're going to fight against marriage, we're going to fight against home ownership because Grant Cardone told us don't buy no house, which is ridiculous because he has 2 now. And then we're
And,
going to blame the boomers.
and I mean, if you never mind.
We're going to not only that, we're going to blame the boomers. And then we're also going to say that what was the fourth one we always hear all the time? Black people love that excuse. They end up blaming the boomers, and then they
There's so
also
many.
it gets ridiculous.
The white man wants to keep us down.
So, yeah, something ridiculous. And so, what's funny is, gentrification. They pushing us out of here. Well, no, they're pushing renters out of there. Low income renters. They're not pushing homeowners out. That term drives me crazy because I just go, if you
Well,
lived in a neighborhood right now, there's a black family I know. They're the last of their family that lived in East Austin, downtown, and
mhm.
now their house. They've been holding out. They just gave them a cash check for $600,000 for a paid off house their grandma let them have, and her and her husband been living in it, enjoying the gentrification, enjoying the neighborhood getting better, enjoying the stores and the shops. People call them all the time. Hey, we'll buy your house. We'll buy your house. And her husband's like, girl, let's just sell this house and move somewhere else.
I want to know where they're going to move now, though.
They
Because
out in the boonies, Maynard, way out in the boonies. They way out in the boonies with the other black people that left.
So I will say this though, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are 1,000% correct when you say they're moving out people of lower income. However, black folks tend to have lower incomes, and so when gentrification comes through, prices tend to go up. Real estate taxes definitely go
Yeah.
up because everything usually gets reassessed. And so we got grandma and auntie, nana, and pop in the house, and they got to combat this increased tax bill.
Mm-hmm.
It can be really hard. Now there are a lot of cities. I know in Philly, we have not abatements. I don't want to say abatements, but they have programs where they can work with some of the elderly that live in the homes to lower some of the tax bills. But for some, especially that are on fixed incomes, it gets a little challenging.
Which goes to my frustration that a lot of times when I see there's a current news story lately with this one family complaining that people want them out of there. Well, I go see the house. They have 5 siblings. They were on the news, and the house got a hole in the roof. The yard's overgrown, and the city's like, okay, we keep finding y'all because We just asking you to cut the grass, maintain
Right.
it if you're gonna keep it.
Be good
And
neighbors.
right, so you have 5 grown adult children who all inherited, quotation marks, this house, but none of them have enough time to go cut the grass once a month. Nobody's put money together to get a roof patched on,
I
and then
mean,
saying the city's taking it from us. How? You have 5 grown adults.
but that's the rationalization because I know I talk about it a lot with white folks
Mhm.
being entitled, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of black folks that are entitled.
Thank
And
you.
they don't realize that the money that we have, the money that we put out a lot of times to go fund other communities and other things, we're taking out of our own communities that could be used in our communities, that could be used in our own households to keep us and maintain us. But I don't think people are really thinking about it that deep.
Yeah, the story blew my mind because the lady was like, "I would love to keep this house so it be someplace our family can visit." And first thing in my mind is like, "Well, where do you and your family live now? Where do you and your current family live now? If every sibling lives somewhere else, but still in Austin, well, who gonna move into the house? Somebody move into it.
Yeah, yeah,
Somebody patch the roof. What's going on?" And so, my friend go, "Erica, repairs are expensive.
they are.
Home repairs are expensive." But at some point, I think, we can't say that for 10 years on an empty house. If you don't do not put $500 a year into the house, at the end of 10 years, you done put some money in it. Some money, better than no
Yeah,
money.
but things, if you're not keeping up with the maintenance, because
Mhm.
$500 a year that's super low,
I know
right?
I'm giving it out to people who are like, "You just don't understand." I'm like, I'm putting
Well,
it as
what you're
low as I can
saying
put it.
is, are you doing something?
Yeah.
And life is cyclical; it goes up and down. So
Mhm.
you should be trying to do something. But at the same time, black folks have a problem with income. We talk about wealth, we talk about spending.
Mhm.
We never really talk about income, but income helps to fuel this wealth gap.
Mhm.
We need higher incomes so we can just sustain our qualities of life, right? Forget about buying the properties and getting the bag.
Mhm.
How much does it cost to do pointing on that house that you live in? I have to get pointing now. That's why I'm thinking about pointing on my brick house. So, like, that costs a couple $1,000s.
Mhm.
I got to pay that. That's got to come from somewhere. And if not, then you have all other kind of issues. Roofing. Your roof needs to be at least coated every couple of years. You
Mhm.
know, that costs a couple of bucks. You got to stay up on these things. And if you don't have adequate income, your asset is now falling into ill repair, and actually it's turning from being an asset to being a liability oftentimes.
Mhm. A- And part of why, when you said the income part, is at the little screen, I just wanted to show spending power. That's
Mhm.
that word, right? Well,
No,
black people got no money.
no,
But
but
they said we had 171% increase in our spending power.
but you have to understand exactly what spending power is. So spending power
Ah.
is income plus credit.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
if you go and actually break down this 1.6 trillion divided
Mhm.
by this, what is it, 40 million black folks in America?
I think 21 million of us are adults. But go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, but let's just do it simple math,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
About,
Got you.
about
Got you.
40 million, it's not
Mhm.
that much money. I think it's like $30,000 or $40,000 a piece.
And
Matter of fact, I'm going to run it up real quick. Let me try to find my calculator real quick. And so it's not really a lot of money. And so when you understand averages and things like that,
mhm.
it's a great number to talk about. It's a cool talking point for the media, but when you
Mhm.
really dive into it, it's problematic. Now I don't have the same problem with it as you have,
Mhm.
because the way I look at it is that 1.6 trillion, studies have shown at least 5 years ago only 2% of that 1.6 trillion is spent with black owned businesses, and that breaks my heart.
Right.
To me, that is the crux of the problem that nobody is really talking about.
Well, and we've done this before, but you guys, if you're in the comment section, what are some black owned businesses you purchase from? Because I've literally gone out of my way to find a black bullet maker. I've gone out of my way to find a black tactical course guy I love going to work out with in Houston when he offers courses. I found you name it, from candles to house goods to towels to I got a swim cap. I mean, I literally go look first in the black community. People say, "Well, they don't. I can't find anything," and I almost go, "Are you looking?"
They're not looking. You can find it because I do the same thing. I'm very intentional and I talk trash, fun, but also I feel informative. I just dropped a video the other day saying we really don't have an excuse not to buy black. You have black doctors, black accountants, black lawyers, black insurance people. All of your basic goods and services can just about always be covered by a black professional business person. Not so much with supermarkets, even though that's starting to change. And we don't really have any major insurance companies that we own, which is starting to change too. But everything else, like to me, if you are buying a new home, you should be finding a black real estate agent.
I have a
We
black
are
mortgage. I have a black mortgage broker. I don't have
a
a black real
black
estate
mortgage
agent.
broker,
I
right?
got a black mortgage broker.
Well, you can have both. Now, I know situations sometimes
Yeah.
don't lend to that, so I get it. It's nuance to it. But you're at least thinking about it, right? So can we at least try to have our dollars go to black people first? I can't tell you how many organizations I've worked with or refuse to join because they don't have a buy black first policy. But I would challenge you all to ask some of your churches, some of your nonprofits, ask them to do an audit and see how much money and these are the black organizations, obviously. Have them do an audit and ask them how much money they spend with black organizations intentionally.
And so the number one pushback I hear, well, Ericka, customer service. Now, I'm not going to give any black company a scapegoat on customer service. I'm never going to do that. But 9 times out of 10, when I ask people about customer service, they talk about a Jamaican food restaurant. You are not talking about a black accountant. You are not talking about a black tax preparer. You're talking about a food joint or a corner store. And I go, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about actually spending the important dollars with professionals. Or, I see a lot of black women go, well, my doctor was so horrible and didn't teach me about, okay, the doula options, feminine health care. And if you did, I don't know if you saw this, but in Georgia, um, the home birth went up 22% in Georgia.
I believe it. That's great.
And I think it's because of the pandemic. People are like, look, y'all tripping. I can't bring nobody in the room. I'm isolated. We're already getting horrible healthcare services as black women. People really reached out to doulas. Now, I'm gonna blame Ericka Badu as well, though, because she decided she was gonna do
Hey, listen, she's an artist and she's sensitive about
her shit.
I'm here for it. But I hate that when people say the customer service. Folks have been ripping off, and when I say folks, I'm talking about non-black folks have been ripping off the black community for years, decades, centuries, and nobody ever brings up any of those straw man arguments for not going to a Jewish accountant or a Jewish lawyer or an Italian masonry person or going to an Irish bar, right? How many black folk will be out here partying on St. Patty's Day like they Irish?
Listen,
They black Irish.
I go to the part of the pier on the other side of DC, Arlington Park. I literally go and it's like the cops are outside partying. Like they do the parade and they're partying. Like I celebrate St. Patrick's Day.
Listen, that's not to bring shade to anybody that has to use people outside the community. But what I am saying is that we can't keep complaining about this condition that we're living in, and we give away all our power because our dollars are power.
Yeah. Well, studies show that when we go in a place and we feel like they're being racist against us, we spend more money.
Really? I've never seen that study.
I got to go find it because I was going to do a video on it. You guys hold me to it. Put it in the comments. Ericka, find that video. It's it's a study on like black people will spend more or over tip when they go to certain establishments. And I'm like,
wow.
So think about that. Because people say, well, why do people care about integration so much? And I go, they had everything they needed. They had grocery stores, they had clubs, they had every single thing they needed. If someone tells me when I look at integration, I go, well, listen, I'm from North Carolina where we had our own hospitals. We had our own black hospitals, own black stuff. But every place wasn't the same.
That's right.
Every place wasn't the same. So I always put that caveat.
Right. And shout out to Dick Gregory because he talks about this very fluently. He's like,
rest in peace.
Folks were still getting lynched in these desegregated places, so that's why people were trying to push for it. So it's the nuance. It's the nuance of a thing.
It's a combination. And Diamond Dave, I'll give him a shout out. Diamond Dave did a really good piece on if it wasn't for the civil rights movement, Atlanta wouldn't have had a black mayor. and that black mayor enforced that $100 million from the $300 million that was being put on the airport in Atlanta go to black people.
That's right.
And so when it did, that literally created, I apologize, everybody, but it's 2 black millionaires out of Atlanta. The older guy with the weird mustache, big mustache.
Russell.
I apologize because people like, shame on you. But
Herman Russell.
There you go. Yes. He said, I wouldn't have been able to be who I am today if it wasn't for that Atlanta deal. And the Atlanta deal wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for integration and also people voting in a black mayor in Atlanta who was able to put his foot on the neck and be like, nah, this is my town. We're going to give some of that money.
So here's the problem, right? And I'm glad you brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to, what mayor was that? He's one of my favorites.
I'm terrible.
Too.
I'm sorry. Black mayor Atlanta, 1968?
In the 70s.
1974.
Yep. Marion Barry's in DC. He's another black mayor that should get more accolades. What is his name? Gotta get his name.
I know. I apologize, y'all. I could do better, but I don't remember the name. But Diamond Dave did a good video on
Maynard Jackson. Jackson. Sorry, I got it. So Maynard Jackson had the gumption and the testicular fortitude to say, we are going to include minorities, aka black people, not just minorities, but black people in this airport bill. Not only that, this man had Division II build airport in the 70s in Atlanta too. Like, I think a lot of people just breeze over that because Atlanta right now, that airport is the most heavily trafficked airport in the United States.
Wait, do you know why it got there? Do you know the original reason why it's there?
Well, no. Why?
Birmingham, Alabama was so racist and so violent and had lynchings and murders that they said, we cannot put this airport here. It can't. Because if you really think about the way flights go, if you really look at the air traffic, Birmingham, Alabama actually makes smarter sense for like triangles. Like if you do a triangle from Birmingham straight up to Charleston, straight up to North Carolina, Raleigh, Durham, everywhere, it makes a better flight pattern. But because of how bad Birmingham, Alabama was, they had to put it in Atlanta.
Okay.
So it's like racism doesn't pay, period. Like financially, to this day, Birmingham has not recovered. Yeah, Birmingham has not. The city itself has not recovered from that. Right? It has great stuff around Hoover and Vestavia Hills, and a lot of companies have moved down there for construction. But at the time, it was a blow to Birmingham, Alabama, because they were getting out of coal.
But Maynard Jackson said, listen, you're going to do that. And so when these people get into power, they didn't forget their blackness. What's happening now? Everybody kind of wants to go along, get along, and nobody wants to ruffle the feathers, and nobody wants to represent for black folks. So we have more black representation in these elected officials, and I think that's a good thing. But here's the problem. Every black person isn't a black person. So,
somebody's going to watch this and be like, what?
And ideology and thought.
Yes. You have my uncle and a couple of people said on TV, if you have 46 million black people, you have 46 million people, different ways of thinking.
Well, it's not even that. Like,
and different experiences.
Yes, it's different experiences. But I'll say this, people are not committed to being black. Many times we're more committed to being American, or we're more committed to being multicultural. All while black people are still getting the SHIT kicked out of them. So.
Well, what was the show? One dude was saying that, you think about O.J. Simpson. I'm just O.J. I ain't black. But when something went wrong, years later, hey, they're being discriminatory towards me.
Right.
Be like, oh, what you want?
O.J. definitely rose to a level that was above race, right? You can do that when you're in entertainment and sports. But when you look at somebody else who's very similar to an O.J. status, a Jay-Z, and many people have problems with Jay-Z, but at least Jay-Z is still fighting for people in prison, putting scholarship money up. He hasn't totally forgotten about where he came from.
My only conflict with Jay-Z is that Master P is who we think Jay-Z is. And let me parse that out. Master P, as far as his levels of different genres, different investments, like, we make fun of Donald Trump for having 680 companies on paper. Master P's got like 150.
I love Master P.
And I think Master P, when we look back in life, maybe 20 years from now, we're gonna be like, dang, Master P built a engine of music,
He did.
of artists. There's hundreds of artists to this day that still eat because this man, he wouldn't hold your royalties past 10 years. He would
Right.
give you back your rights. He would help you.
No. P's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, I love P. I only use Jay-Z because Jay-Z has crossed over.
For sure.
P hasn't crossed over as much. So I was just using Jay as the crossover equivalent to OJ.
For sure. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, I love P. I mean, because I'm a major hip hop head. And even when you go through the history, like if you look at Luke and what he did in Miami, P kind of learned from Luke. And then like all this Luke, and then you got P, and then you got my man out of Houston.
Scarface?
No, well, Scarface's partner, the one who Jay Prince.
Okay.
Like all these folks have been putting on for black folks in a great way, and I don't feel a lot of them get their shine.
True. I've been watching the podcast era is interesting to me because it reminds me of us going back to more individualized radio. So when I hear all these black men, I'm like, hey, if you're doing a podcast on sports and on this on topic, I'll go check it out just to see. And so I've started checking out Slim Thug, who has this kind of more business-minded conversations, which is surprising, but still in his Slim Thugness, right? And so he had this guy on, and like Scarface was talking. He was like, oh yeah, I got 2.7 million for that. And Slim Thug was like, why don't you just keep working it? You was getting millions of dollars. Just keep working it and invest in that money. He's like, well, I just wasn't thinking. Right. And so
That happens.
Slim Thug builds houses in Houston.
Yep.
And people miss that part of his where he talks about you can live a millionaire lifestyle on 20K. I did a whole video on it because he's right. We're chasing like we got to make $1 million. It's got to be exciting. It's got to be a sexy business. What is something consistently the black community complains about and don't have access to? Housing.
Yeah, I would agree.
Keep it simple. Like, can you fix a house? Can you build a house? Can you fix something in a house? I think housing is one of the most simplistic ways for wealth building for us, and we keep like kicking against every basic understanding of it. And what I mean is like I cringe when I hear stories of New Yorkers who leave New York and they move to Atlanta. 20 years later, they start complaining about the prices of Atlanta. And I'm like, you've been in here for 20 years and ain't bought no house in Atlanta? Like, you already seen that play out in Brooklyn. You saw that play out where y'all got pushed out. And you went to another location and still didn't buy? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I get it.
So, go ahead.
I was saying you should probably bring us back to the screen at some point.
I know. So this right here is the U.S. net worth. And I'm laughing about the color band they're using, like very, I guess, Afrocentric. Somebody on staff put that together. Black, Latino, white, U.S. overall. Okay. So Latino, 112%. White, only 6%. Now, if you know anything about demographics of the white culture as far as aging, baby boomers, 20% of all white people in America right now are actually over the age of 65. So you have a demographic that you have a group of people that is essentially on the downward purchasing spiral, right? They're purchasing their last home, or they're downsizing, or they're getting rid of stuff.
They almost out of here.
I mean, it sounds horrible, but that's the truth. That's literally.
And I say that with all due respect.
20% of their folks are over 65.
Yep.
I think they were saying. I think they were joking about this being our last boomer president, because you have to realize Donald Trump before this was 76. Is he 76 or 75?
I think he's older than that.
I know Joe Biden is old, right? So we have this last kind of the oldest age of baby boomers in here. Mm-hmm. So I understand their percent only going up 6%, regardless there are millions and millions and millions more population. I don't understand black people going down.
I do. And I understand why Latinos go up.
Break it down to us. Because they've doubled. Latinos have doubled their net worth.
So when you look at this, right, mm-hmm. This all goes back to demographics. So whites, who's having the least amount of babies? Who's having the least amount of people migrating and immigrating to this country? It's whites. Mm-hmm. Next, who's having babies more than white folks? Black folks. but they're not having as
9%.
many. Right, but they're not having as many as Latinos
Or
and
Asians.
You know what? I'm not sure
Asians,
about that.
the last census showed that Latino was 28% increase, Asian was 25% increase, but a lot of that was importing for marriage.
Right, and that's where I was going.
Yeah.
And so for Latino, that growth rate, I would bet dollars to donuts that is specifically based on immigration numbers. So those wealth numbers have skyrocketed up because we've had more Latinos moving into the United States.
Right. Have you know about Jacksonville, Florida?
No, not
If
no.
Jacksonville, Florida is historically a black city,
Okay,
but the number one home ownership for Latinos in America is Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh wow.
And so I tell people, I'm like, if you ask black people, I just feel, I'm trying to get out of here. I don't want to be here. And then when I look at the stats, number one home ownership in Florida for Latinos is Jacksonville, Florida.
And then if you listen, black folks that are born in America can learn a lot from other migrating ethnic groups.
Mm-hmm.
What's some of the stuff that they do? Like when you go to LA and you look at some of the Latino communities, they are very much more organized and very much more clean than some of the others. Now, y'all might get mad at me when I say that, but their sense of community and their sense of family is a lot higher than ours. That, to me, that's a clue that tells us something that we're missing out on. We had that sense of community about 50, 60, 70 years ago. We kind of lost it through, you call it integration. I say integration never happened. I call it desegregation. We can say it's a mincing of words, but I think there's definitely different because the schools never really changed.
No,
The
and then
neighborhoods
getting the
never
money.
really changed. Right. And part of, other part of this wealth problem that's baked into the cake is black communities are always vastly more undervalued than everybody else's.
Mm-hmm.
So to a certain degree, just for this conversation, it might not always make sense to invest or buy in black neighborhoods, just from a wealth perspective, just for the wealth argument. It might make sense to buy in mixed communities or white communities because your property value has a higher opportunity to potentially grow outside of gentrification. But you typically have a greater opportunity for your property value to appreciate greater than what everybody else is doing. Michelle Singletary from the Washington Post wrote a wonderful article. I can't think of the name of it, but a wonderful article about how the home in D.C. that she has in a black neighborhood is very much underpriced versus the same type home maybe 20 or 30 miles away in a white neighborhood.
Yeah, those stories and appraisal horror stories I've been hearing nonstop, and it's really horrible. Also, too, something I want people to understand in California: the elito man, the slushy cart man, the fruit selling man can be out there and nobody bother him. If the black man is out there selling oranges, there's a police officer stopping and asking where is the permit. I would say 9 times out of 10.
And he probably also has a higher propensity of getting robbed too. But
there you go.
Yeah.
And they do show where sometimes a lot of these Spanish food cart folks are getting robbed. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, when I watched this guy's video in California, he's like, nobody's stopping them and asking, "Hey, where's your permit? What are you doing? Why are you out here?" No one would do that to them.
Right, but we already know that, so we got to act accordingly. And I don't think it's that hard to act accordingly. It's not that hard to get paperwork. It's not that hard to file taxes. We can make all the excuses we want. At the end of the day, we know racism is baked into the cake of DNA here, or baked into the fabric of American society here. It's built on racism. It's built on exploitation, especially against black people or African descendants. Okay, so are we all going to move?
No.
Are we all going to go somewhere else? So we're not moving. We're not going back to Africa. And no diss to anybody who wants to go back to Africa, because I don't think that's a bad idea. But we know the majority of people aren't going to do that. So then what should we be doing now? How do we prepare ourselves? How do we arm ourselves? How do we get more representation in the legal system? Everybody's saying, I don't want to vote because it's rigged. I don't want to be involved. I don't want to contribute to elected officials. I don't want to do any of this stuff. Well,
Okay. It's like, what are you doing? You don't want to
right.
marry. You don't want to buy a house. You don't want to buy anything. Like,
Yeah.
what? If you know how this country works.
Hello, my name is Tim Jackson, and my purpose in life is to help you find your purpose. I have traveled all over the world doing what I love while showing people how to live a life worth living. After retiring at the age of 37, I committed myself to working with ready and willing individuals who are determined to live their purpose right now. Join me on February the 1st for my life-changing training. Together, we will identify your purpose. Hi, I'm Tim Jackson, and it's time to get committed to your purpose. Let's get registered today.
One, this country's for sale. Everything, every single bit of it, it's for sale. Two, it used to be only landowners had voting rights. There's a reason
Yep.
for that.
Yep.
There's a reason you have, white people in the South go, well, everybody didn't feel that way. Well, guess what? We didn't ask you what you thought because you didn't own any land. We asked the landowners what they thought. So part of this, when I see this net worth number right here, I want to bring it up, and people are going to say I'm being petty. Cars are depreciating assets. We all know people who have amazing cars. When I delivered pizzas here in Austin, Texas, I would go to the DC neighborhood apartments, roachy, terrible, falling apart apartments, and there'd be brand new cars everywhere. I go right across this because it's a weird, it's a Highway 35. If anybody's ever come here, you'll understand what I'm saying. Highway 35 pushes everybody black and Latino over there, everybody white historically on this side, period. The closer you are to the 35, even if you're white, you were usually poor. Over here, you're black, period. The neighborhood where I was delivering pizzas had a thing called the Mopac between it. It still had a bunch of older, rundown apartments on the right-hand side that still had a lot more black people in it. And then on the left-hand side were these nice homes that mostly had white people in them and Asian folks. And I would deliver pizzas, and I would just cross this bridge and be frustrated every day. Like, man, I got to go on that side of the bridge because I knew I was going to a rundown apartment with BMWs in the parking lot and $3 tips. But I would go over here and get $8, $12, dollar tips, and it'd be old cars, old Toyotas in the park, in the driveway. And so we have these cars, but cars are not net worth, y'all. It does not make sense. If you
Unless
own a
it's
loan
for a
on it.
business. Unless it's for
There
a
you go.
business.
Okay, clarify. I'll clarify.
It's gotta be used. Like all of these assets, all of these things.
Mhm.
If these depreciating assets, if you buy them to make money, to buy other assets, then yeah, it's good. But 9 times out of 10, it's not. Ericka's totally right.
For sure. So that's why I wanted to bring the screen up, because I think it's important. And most of the time when people see this number, a big thing there, if you read the book, Kimbrough, what is it, The Black Wealth Choice? Kimbrough, gosh, I forgot his name.
Dennis.
I was supposed to
Dennis
interview
Kimbrough.
him. Dennis Kimbrough. I didn't get a chance to interview him. He was teaching his class. In there, if you read, it says people that are millionaires, black millionaires, most of their money's tied up in 2 things. What are those 2 things in the audience? Put it in the comments right now. What are the 2 things that most people have their money tied up into? Drop it in the comments. And I know it takes a second for you guys to respond, but hold that book up one more time. Boom, a wealth choice. So
It's a great book.
2 things that black millionaires put their money in is their house.
Yep.
And their business. Not insurance products, not the stock market, not all these other things. Their house and mostly their business.
And we know most black-owned businesses don't have any employees, so mostly that money goes into the house.
There you go. And I keep telling people that's the foundational pillar. Once you can control your monthly mortgage payment, it's a whole different conversation. When you know it's not going to have fluctuations and go up and down and do all these other things, you have power of that. Let me see. There's one other part in this I want to make sure y'all are seeing this stuff on the screen.
I liked Angela Yee's commentary. I rocked with
Go ahead. Tell me what you tell me about Angela.
Listen,
about stock.
I'm a fan of Angela Yee. Buy the stock of the hottest thing. Instead of buying the hot thing, buy the stock of it. We buy the iPhones, we buy the Jordans. I talk to people all the time. I say, a pair of Jordans is roughly anywhere from $150 to $250 on release. Nike stock, at the time I did that, I think it was like $90. Mm-hmm. Nike stock right now is, let's see. Nike stock right now is $145. So it's still on par or close to a pair of Jordans. So for every pair of Jordans you buy, at least buy a pair of Nike stocks.
Right. So here's the thing on the stock market, and what's funny but awesome. Wall Street Trapper, I just watched an interview he did with Lewis House. He's hitting the crossover moment like major at this point.
Oh,
Lewis
yes,
House
he
is like
is. Yes, he is.
he
Shout out to Trapper.
congratulations. I actually knew him for a briefly moment with Hood Estates and all that stuff about good 3 years ago, and seeing him actually just pour into self-development has been a joy to watch, especially since when you know somebody up close and personal. So that's been a joy to watch somebody grow. Just mentally and spiritually and all that other stuff. But when I saw his interview, he said when they arrested him, and this is after he got out of jail for the 10 years and he was still doing silly stuff and getting caught up in weed, they took everything. They took his truck, they took his cash. They did not take his stocks. And he ran around and told everybody in the hood, man, they didn't take my stocks. They didn't take my stocks. And what I want people to understand in the coming years, and even if you watch American Greed, 9 times out of 10, the police departments want something they can quick liquidate or send to auction.
Right.
And so lately they've been seizing people's cryptocurrency. They have $1.2 billion,
Like $1.2 billion.
Which we can have a whole conversation on that. But learning that stocks have a power in a class, and let's just go there, classism, right? They probably didn't even assume old boy knew enough to be in the stock market or have significant holdings in the stock market. And so imagine that, having everything taken from you but this one account. And if you got half a brain, you can liquidate some of that stuff.
I don't know the majority of Trap's story. I haven't heard that, but
okay. Check out the Lewis House interview.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
I will. I hang around with a lot of lawyers. So if somebody wanted to make the case that it was ill-gotten gains or it was brought from ill-gotten gains, they could have gotten the stock too. So I think it goes back to more of the thing of they didn't think he was smart enough to buy the stock. So they probably didn't even look. So I think he got lucky. That's what I'm saying. I think he got lucky in that scenario.
For sure. Yeah. He was saying they froze his bank account, they froze everything, and they looked up, oh, I still have my stocks. So this right here, Black Racial Guy, I hate this word. Why do I hate this word? Because I feel like when you really parse out the math, I think we did this before. It's up to 11 trillion now, so it's done grew. But before, when we parsed it out, it was like every single Black person buy $175,000 house. It was the gap was so small. It was like $61,000 per person or something. It was way smaller, but they're making it to be out like, oh, Black people are so far behind and just it's so terrible. And I go, the math isn't really saying that.
Yes.
What it's showing, no. What it's showing me is that they're missing a house. When we're calculating a lot of these people's net worth, they're missing the most important part, which is a house. If the average starter home in America was a 150, now it's 350. If you parse that out, 350 times 40 million, which again, there's only 20 million Black adults, which that number to me is low, but I'll leave that alone. Go down that conspiracy theory another night. Listen, I'm just telling you, if every day there's shootings everywhere, but there's supposedly only so many of us, them numbers is off. The racial wealth gap, and this part, I love this slide where it says Black homeownership is down 3% since 2000. Now, what's a big part of that? I think the 2008, people still haven't recovered from that.
That is a fact.
When Obama was in office, we were purchasing less homes even when Obama was in office. I think I've had Kareem Baldwin on several times. I'm going to have him on again. And he talked about, biggest thing he hears is he'll approve somebody for a price point and they don't like homes in that price point, so they don't buy. Like the whole starter home culture is over. Like they just want the best house when they purchase. They don't want to try the starter home and then move up to the next house.
So, but you know what? So I just did the math. 11 trillion divided by 40 million, just for it's quick and easy, simple. It's 275. So $275. So basically, Black folks in America need to get $300,000 in net worth to really even things out. So you have a solid point. I'm
telling you.
It's not that far. That's not. Now, there's a couple ways to go about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we got $1 million life insurance policy on all our elders, that would wipe out the racial wealth gap in a generation, potentially. The question would be, would those who without good financial education know what to do with the money once they get it?
No.
Because then it would go back to
Same
white hands and further increase the white wealth gap.
Yeah. And this is the nicest way I can do this. At the time when my sister and her first child's father were dating, my mom was like, "This young man's reckless." So she actually got a health life insurance policy on both of them. On all of them, the kids and him, and his family was like, "I can't believe your mom got a life insurance policy." And she said, "Well, I can't believe y'all don't have one. This young man is acting reckless. What happens to this child, this grandchild of mine, if he passes away?"
Because then y'all going to sit home to be with Nana and Mama.
There you go.
It's going to be a burden to me.
So there's this meme. It's not a meme, but it's an insurance guy made it, and everybody got mad. And he had a black couple and a white couple, and he said, if this guy dies, Dan dies, she's gonna get $800 a month check, and she's gonna get all this another $100,000 policy. If Jerome over here dies, she's getting SSI and a very small policy. That's where a big problem is, and even if we just said 275, which is amazing. I'm so glad you said that. In America, if you own a third home, you are in the 1%.
Yeah.
That's how crazy home ownership is in America. That if you own just 3 homes, you were in the 1%. When Bernie Sanders, Feel the Burn, bought his third house in Vermont, boy, they were railing him against the coals. Oh, Bernie's joined the 1%. And I said, wait a minute, let me read this article. And the only thing different Bernie had done was buy a third home.
Yep.
That was it. Bernie still was out there with them same Walmart clothes on and Subaru driving Bernie, but he had a third home. And so a lot of times when people see this hustle culture and even the wholesaling culture, right? Like if you wholesale the whole hood and you don't own any of it anymore, what was the point of the money? What did the money get you?
Well, it might have got you some increased income, which is cool, which is needed, right? I just talked about that. The question is where do you go from there?
Yeah.
And I don't think people are thinking about that.
So, we're at the 49-minute mark. What are some closing things you think people can do? What do you think some ways that they can fix this?
I wrote a whole piece on this.
Let's do it. Bring it out. Talk to us. You want to share the screen?
Yeah, let me pull it up. I'm gonna make this into a book one day. Hold on, give me 1 second. I gotta pull up the Medium article. I keep saying I'm gonna do it, and I just get so busy. I gotta make some time for this stuff.
Share the screen. You got it.
All right, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
Write that book, man. You never know. I always tell people, people laugh at Brother Polite and several of these other hoteps, but the smartest thing these hoteps did was write these books. Because I know 2 or 3 of them, they make $50K a year off books.
Yeah, that is a fact.
They be marketing them books, baby.
That is a 1,000% fact. That's a 1,000% fact.
You can be a paid author in this society, this current society.
Yeah, I mean, listen. What's the guy's name? Kevin something. 1,000 True Fans.
Yep. The long tail. Yeah.
Yeah. You only need 1,000 true fans that will basically buy all your stuff. So you don't even need 1 million people following you on YouTube or 1 million people on Instagram or on Facebook or on Twitter. You need 1,000. 1,000 diehard, like really rock with you. And you could do all right. You can have an income of about $100,000.
This is facts. And even though we make fun of the $100,000, it's still 3 times more than the national black person average, which is $35,000.
Yeah. We making fun of people making $100,000 now?
Yeah. Oh, everybody claims they're making $100,000. I don't mean nothing.
Oh, I got you.
I'm like, all right, okay, 100,000 ain't no money. Okay. Like when you need your teeth done, when your car brakes is bad, money is money.
Yeah, I mean, I think they said everything over 75,000. Well, let me put it in context. They say once you make 75,000, life changes. And then once you make, I want to say it's like 250 or something, they say life really changes. And then once you get above that 400,000, They say that's where you really have no worries and you're playing the generational wealth game.
This I could agree. I would say even Asia Selden, when she is getting about, I think, 35,000 a month in rental properties, even if she didn't have any other business, just that alone, like if everything else, she lost everything else and kept the properties, she would still live an astronomically different life than most Americans.
Yep, but I love her model. I need to reach out to her, by the way. But I love her model. She had a business. She was a financial planner. I think she's still a financial planner. She took the cash flow from the business and bought properties.
Yep.
And she brought in a time when Philly was super depressed. But so there's so much nuance to that. But she was buying areas that nobody wanted to be in. And I get it. And all the time we run from the hood because we had a lot of emotional situations, whether we got into fights, robbed, baby mama did us dirty, something crazy, and we don't want to be bothered with it anymore.
Yeah, I've been telling people my goal is to do new construction in this area near where they're building this Samsung, which is Samsung bought 1,700 acres. And everybody's like, "Oh, why are you going way out there?" I said, because I've watched the economic growth patterns, and I actually read what cities write out, and this is where the growth is going over the next 10 years. People are like, "Oh, yeah, still nothing out there though." I'm like, but if I subdivide this land and build, an apartment complex here, and then over here I sell 10 lots, it's a conversation. We'll have some of that off air, but I've been telling people, you move to where the puck is going.
Yep.
Nobody wants to go when the land is $20,000 because it's way outside of Austin. But now Samsung's over there, and now every piece of property has increased threefold.
But you know what? Before I get into my piece, I think you brought up something really, really good, right? Every one of these cities has like economic development or urban development plans, and they're public. Philadelphia has the 2035 plan, I think it is. That's public. So they're basically telling you where they're going to build, where they're going to develop. Get the plan, look at it, and start shopping, saying, hey, I might not be able to get exactly in this area, but maybe I can get a block or two from this neighborhood, and I still could benefit from some of the growth, from the projected growth.
Chattanooga, Tennessee. I remember I did a video on it about 5 years ago. To this day, people are like, "Oh my God, it's 3x, 4x what your video said." I'm like, yeah. And I showed them the economic development on my YouTube channel that day. I was like, they already told y'all they were getting y'all out of here.
All right, so I wrote this, oh man, January 22nd, 2016. I've been sitting on this for a minute.
You got, we guess what the accountability is this year? I'm going to ask you when you finish your book.
All right, listen, I'm here for it.
One chapter a month. You can do it. I believe in you.
Well, here's the funny thing. This is about 15 chapters. It's just about done. I have a couple other pieces I need to add. I could go. Publish on Amazon and be done with it.
And then commit to talking about it for the next 2 years, for sure.
Well, I talk about it now. Anyway.
There you go.
So
everybody in the comments, make sure you ask Ellis when is his book coming out. When is the book coming out? Go to his Instagram, go to his YouTube page.
Shoot, I might just take this and make it a book and then just do updates, because you can do that now with Amazon too.
Yeah.
Yep. So basically this came out of frustration because, I basically worked in and around Black folks financially all my life, whether it be Black accountants with my dad or Black financial advisors or Black, actually, even institutional managers. So I've been really fortunate in that manner. And I've actually had some other wonderful opportunities, because at one point I had an opportunity to teach retirement planning at major institutions and colleges in Philadelphia and the surrounding areas. So I got to see a large swath of people, Black, white, brown, yellow, red, doesn't matter. And we do have some culturally differences. But here I talk about how a lot of times I didn't want to write about this stuff or talk about this stuff because I didn't want to be seen as the angry Black guy. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, so I don't know if you've heard of the 10K project, but here
yes,
it shows that they're highlighting my stuff. So that's pretty cool. So, all right, so one thing I feel like we all need to develop is an abundance mindset. That's not new, but I think it's really real. I think sometimes folks get so caught up with woe is me that we don't even realize that our ancestors who were once slaves or enslaved were able to buy themselves freedom. So what kind of mindset did they have to have to say, you know what, I'm in this messed up position, but I'm still going to keep working every day to buy my freedom. As bad and as heinous as that is, put yourself in their shoes just for a high minute and say, what do I need to do to maybe channel some of my ancestors' faith and fear and mindsets?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just one. Legacy mindset is the other, but some more like tactical things, because I do think the woo-woo is important, as
It's important.
some folks like to say. But one thing I said was we need to talk about money. We don't really talk about money at all, at least not in a constructive concept or a constructive perspective.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about the new car we got, or the new chain we
Oh,
got,
yeah.
or the vacation we just took. But a lot of times we're not talking about the 401k match we got, or the real estate we got, or, you know, whatever we got going on. There's a lot of myths in our community. The
Mm-hmm.
love of money is the root of all evil.
Mm-hmm. Capitalism.
Yep. Oh my God, I've done several
Ooh,
things on
that wear
capitalism.
me out.
Actually, capitalism. Oh, here it is. Money is the root of all evil. Capitalism is evil. The 1% is evil. All of those things are lies. All of those things are great tropes or rhetoric that the media plays on the minds of folks. But
And
here's the
and to
thing.
be the 1% is so, it's not even,
It's not
there's,
that hard.
it's not that hard, and there's different parts of it. Like several of my
Right.
friends are, one's an eye doctor, one's a dentist. They own their own practices, and people are like, oh, the 1%. I'm like, you're hurting them. They're the little small eye doctor guy, the
Hmm.
plumber that has his own business, that they hit those $250,000 numbers all the time. It's not even that serious. Like they hit those numbers often.
So I
Go ahead.
think you'll like this one, Ericka.
STEM.
Dominate STEM. We got to get into tech, y'all. There's over 10 million tech jobs unfilled right now.
Say that number again, because
$100,000
I'm gonna do
plus.
that. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do a show on that. There's
Uh,
10
10 million. 10 million unfilled tech jobs that they go outside the country and they get those visas. What's it?
HB1 visas.
Yes, the HB1 visas and fill. Where if we actually got up on this tech the way we should, they wouldn't have to go to India and Pakistan and everywhere else and China to recruit. They could recruit here.
And
And
and our cousin Kamala says she's getting 500,000 of them coming. She ain't playing with us.
well, I mean, but that's where it is. And when
Yeah.
you look at those countries, like especially India, like they retool their whole industry and educational system to go after tech. So I'm not mad at them. Right. Here's the thing. I'm agnostic to the stuff. This is just data. The question
Yeah.
is, what are you going to do with the data? Right. We know where we're at. Okay. We got the data. What moves are we going to make? What plays are we going to run, as young folks like to say these days? Run the play. Run the play.
Do you have something about trades in here? Because that
No, I
tech trade. You should add that chapter.
done. Adequate life insurance.
Yep.
Adequate life insurance. You know, we miss out a lot of times on legacy building opportunities just by not having enough life insurance. And I mean, people don't realize that life insurance in and of itself is an income replacement tool.
Mm,
So if let's say me and my wife die and we got a 2-year-old,
yeah.
or I die, so on average, you said black folks make about 35,000 a year.
Mhm.
Kid's going to be grown in the next 18 years. How much money is that child missing out on?
Yeah.
So my wife doesn't marry rich and have some sugar daddy take care of her, which comes with a whole other bunch of issues.
You
And
don't wrote it in her notes. Mary Sugar Daddy after I
yeah,
die.
right. You know, that comes with all other kind of issues, right? Now we can get $1 million. I say every married family with children should at least have $1 million in life insurance.
Dude,
That could change things.
my mom is such a black sheep. She got $3 to $5 million in life insurance, and she was going back and forth to Iraq, Kuwait, and she was
Mm,
telling our family, and they were like, "Well, you got too much. That's silly. That's too much. You're paying too much." And she's like, "I'm a military person. Like, it's pennies on the dollar. They're
right.
matching me. They're doing this." And it was like she tried so hard to have this conversation, and she said she realized, you know what? Like, there's no point. I've tried for years to try to get these people to get better policies on themselves, but what's funny is when my grandma died, my grandma had policies she hid from people,
Hmm.
and had already had it set up, arranged who was to disperse it and everything. Nobody, and we didn't have this conversation. And all my mom has 5 sisters, and they said, "Oh my God, let's go out." Them and their husbands. Let's make sure we all have our money for grandma's burial. Looked up, grandma had everything covered and then some, and split up the houses and split up the farmland. And
Mm,
every single aunt had a policy. Nobody talked to each other. They just
mm.
found out at that moment that you got a policy. Yeah, I got a policy. You got a policy. We all have a policy.
But
So
that goes to my other point, right? We don't talk
talk about
about
money.
money
Don't
in
talk about
in a
it.
real meaningful way. Like
Yep.
they shouldn't. Like
It was
I'll
a
say this:
shock fest for 2 weeks.
my dad is like been holding back from telling me some quote unquote family secrets that he thinks is going to like blow my mind. And I'm like,
Tell it.
whatever it is what it is, right? So just tell it. But I say all that to say is like, black families have so many secrets unnecessarily that, I don't know if anybody watches Power, but the whole thing with Monet and sending Zeke off down south, but she's actually his mama, but act like his auntie. Do you know how many times that's really real? How much trauma that
Heard a lot.
produces?
Yeah.
We don't need all that. Like, just tell the truth. Just get it out. Get it done with. Supporting black-owned businesses. I think this is paramount. I talked about this earlier in the episode today with us. 2% of the funds, that 1.6 trillion, is spent with black-owned business. That's a travesty to me. I mean, I think that's actually appalling. You can't tell me black business customer service is that trash. As you like to say, the math isn't mathing.
I
For
know.
it to be 2%.
It's
And
just not
did
math.
you go to find the black businesses that actually have good customer service and all go to them? But,
That's a part of why I love going to Houston. Houston and Atlanta, say what you will, Atlanta's home ownership, black home ownership is abysmal. Because it's really like 24% black home ownership in Atlanta, which is embarrassing. It's everything. They're in every other county. They're surrounding Atlanta.
right.
And so whenever I go, I always look up black owned restaurants. And I posted on my Facebook page, black owned restaurants in Houston. And all my white friends are like, I just go there. It's good. And I said, I just like the restaurant if it's good. And I said, well, I'm glad you went. Great. Because they completely missed the whole point of you're putting money in the pockets of black Houston folks by eating there.
Yeah.
And the black people in the comment section were like, oh, okay, well, that's great. Thanks for helping and sharing this. And I just laughed because I'm going, all the white people go because I saw it was hot on Instagram. So I went. Turkey Leg, every time I go to Turkey Leg, is full of white people.
I
You know what I
haven't
mean?
been there yet, but I've heard about that place, and I'll have to go when I go to Houston.
I'll put it to you like this. Put it in your calendar in July to come to Houston. I know it's hot in July, but I'm supposed to be having my conference in
Okay.
Houston, my big closeout conference. So
Now, in June, I'm in Florida, and I think Atlanta. So, yeah, let me know. Let me know.
July. It's July.
All right, I'll try to make it.
We might have to put you on stage talking about insurance or something.
So here, I talked about this. So it's funny, like all the pieces, like Angela Yee and everything else. I've been talking about this forever. Learn and embrace investing, not just real estate. I know Ericka loves real estate, and all roads leads to real estate.
All roads lead to real estate.
And I don't have I don't have a problem with that because Ericka's talking about it from more of a business and investing standpoint, not just investing into your home, but look into the stock market, please, because a lot of times we are missing out on wealth creation opportunities by not being investing in the stock market. And you don't really have to do anything.
And I'm big on fractional shares. I've done several videos. I have a channel where I'm just putting a bunch of Stockpile and M1 Finance fractional share buying.
Nice.
Where I think the video is called Oil Stocks or something like that. Like I just basically went crazy on when people were complaining about gas in California. Anytime they complain, I go ExxonMobil. I just get more oil stocks because they pay dividends.
It's funny. I did a whole show because I always tell people you can start with $1. Going back to the fractional share, you don't need a lot of money. You don't have to be an old white dude in a crusty black or gray suit. You only need $1. Start there and just keep investing. And I tell people how I brought an ETF, XLE, which is energy. The top holding is Exxon. And Exxon's profits have grown up like 80% in the last year because oil prices are through the roof. So again, you miss out on some of these opportunities just by sitting on the sideline. So I also say create investing clubs with friends and other, family. So I think that's important. And you can do that in the stock market and you can do that for real estate. So the biggest thing though is really being willing to trust with some folks. But if we're talking about that 275 number and destroying that number, we could do it easily if we work together.
Oh, listen. And I tell people this, that when you go to conferences and there's somebody and you got 20K and the person beside you got 20K, y'all can move faster than if you try to go get 20 people with $1,000. Now,
Yes.
is it still good to get the 20 people with $1,000? For sure. But
No, and that's a fact.
I've seen brothers and cousins who they would go to there's a conference, Jeff Sechenger's 0% Finance, whatever. And so I go to his event. There were brothers in there together who were cleaning each other, credit at the same time so they could start buying up a bunch of stuff in where they live. And now I look back 2 years later, I talked to those guys. They bought up, I think, 10 land lots and built 3 houses, just the two of them.
Nice.
With their credit, with their credit in their local banks. It's possible. People really sleep on just taking who's ready to go. Who's ready to go? One other person, let's go. Because what cracks me up is people say, well, who's gonna hold the money?
Everybody, this is DJ the Money Coach. You just saw me give you 5 secrets to accumulating wealth in the wintertime. Secret number 1, only acquire real estate in the off season. I only acquire real estate from October to January for the past 20 years. And that has helped me create a strong 6-figure income and a 7-figure net worth. And I can teach you how to do the same thing. I'm going to help you and guarantee you how to acquire a property in the next 30 days exclusively for the first 10 people only here on the Classy Climb. I'm going to get you a $15,000 property with a 12% rate of return in the next 30 days if you're wise enough to invest in yourself. Because if you want to achieve the pom-pom lifestyle, which is plenty of money and peace of mind, then you have to learn the secrets of the wealthy. And the first rule is make your money on the acquisition, not on the sale. I'm DJ the Money Coach. Come join us on the Beaches of the World Club for the first 10 people only, exclusively. I'll see you in the webinar.
That gets on my nerves. I'm like, y'all, let's let that go. Let's let that 1950 thoughts go.
Yeah, but we should let it go, but we also have to acknowledge it because we know where it comes from, right?
Yeah.
Willie Lynch has done a hell of a job on lynching our mindsets. And so we don't trust each other a lot of times. So we got to address it. And that's why I strongly believe in doing full transparency with everything.
For sure.
Bunch of my friends from the Black Wealth Project, I think you've seen us like Buy the Hood and Ivy Investor. We brought something together. I think it was like $20 or something, right? They wound up there, and I was the guy who held the money. They sent me $25. I said, no, guys, it's supposed to be $20, and here's the receipts. I do that for everything.
Yeah.
That's a habit. I believe transparency should be a habit for everything because then it just cuts down on a lot of the other nonsense that many of our organizations are going through.
For sure.
All right, so again, this is more theory. Black youth organizations should have mandatory money classes. I've taught a lot at the Jack and Jill's and a few others, but they don't have a consistent money class, a consistent class about money. And to me, it's not that hard because we spend money every day. Let's just take 30 seconds and talk about what we're buying and why we're buying. Black churches, black religious organizations should do money classes for their constituents as well. And I said,
I've seen Dave Ramsey getting a lot of mixed and white churches, but not as many black churches.
Well, he gets a lot, and I am not a fan of his. So
I know.
Yeah, I don't like him either. Listen,
beans and rice and rice and beans, y'all.
I would say this: we give these pale-faced people way too much play in our community, and we got people in our community that are just as good, if not better than them, and we don't shout them out at all. So let's be about helping our folks. And I'll say major black churches should form new banks or support black-owned banks that are already existing. I don't understand why there's roughly only. I just had this number. There's not a whole lot of money in black-owned banks. I want to say there's less than $50 million collectively across. So there's 23 black-owned banks, and they have less than, I want to say, $100 million. Now, we saw Netflix kick in some money to one of the black-owned banks. I think they might have did $100 million and a couple others. But why aren't churches backstopping a lot of these banks? I know some people are going to say they can't do it because it's political and it might get in the way, but there's ways to do things.
Yeah. I tell you this, when I'm in Fayetteville and I'm visit home and I see a bunch of churches in a section, I'm like, do y'all own the houses beside the church? Do y'all own houses in this neighborhood that we could rent these houses out, do group homes, all this stuff? You know,
some of them do.
That's my frustration when I see black churches, a bunch of them in one section.
So this is the one thing I think everybody could do more of. This is house hacking, right? But with your family, multi-generational living. So I think if we start to look at this strategically, because I understand everybody don't want to live with their mama. But a couple years ago, my mama had a fire and she had to come live with me anyway. My dad just called me the other day and said, hey, can I come stay with you? Because I got to do the surgery up near by your house. So if you are like me and I'm in the sandwich generation, I got children, young children, and I got older parents, this is some things we might want to start planning for and working on now.
What's the youngest child?
My youngest is 15 now.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Because a lot of
go-
housing here in Dallas. Well, I'm in Austin, but if you look at the housing in Dallas and Houston, they build mother-in-law suites in them. Like it's anytime you go over 350,000 in a house, they just built them in them now. They're just in there.
But I know there's a lot of white folks in Dallas, but what else is in Dallas?
Latinos, Blacks.
Right. And
Asian.
Latinos, and I'm not trying to stereotype, but Latinos typically a lot of times have multi-generational living. They do it naturally.
Who does the best though? Who does it the most? Think about it.
The most? I don't know. I know
Indian community.
I was going to say. Well, no, I was going to say Latinos. I was going to say the Chinese do it a lot. The Indians definitely do it a lot.
Indian to the max.
Caribbean people a lot of times do it a lot. Some African people do it a lot. It seems like everybody that hasn't been Americanized does it a lot. It's like when you become Americanized, you lose all of that.
I would say a combination of it is, if you look and you have multi people in the house, is everybody on the same mindset wavelength? We're going to work hard and invest and do this. I've had consulting calls with clients. I doubt they're watching the channel anymore, but I've had consulting calls where the guy lives with his parents. Their house is falling apart. And he's like, well, I'm getting ready to move into my own house. Well, you've been living here for 6 years, brother. You're going to help them fix this. Yeah, right. You're going to help them fix this. You're going to help them patch the roofs, the holes. Yeah, the bathroom's down and this is messed up. And I'm like, you're a grown man working in the house making $50K a year. And your focus is, I'm going to go get my own house. Instead of saying, let me help my mom and dad fix these small minor repairs. So again, even though in theory it sounds amazing, if everybody's not in the house, right, mentally, it does hurt him because his poor parents have no clue he's leaving. Like that was my call with him. It was like,
can I ask what his ethnic group is?
He's Black.
He's Black. So if he was Black from Nigeria or Black from Jamaica, do you think this?
Oh no, he'd be shamed for not helping his parents fix that stuff.
And so that's why I said I think Americanism is the common denominator to all the shenanigans for a lot of stuff, because we forget, like, we supposed to be family. This idea of rugged individualism is whack. Not to be confused with being the best you can be. You're still supposed to be the very best you can be. You are an individual. You're still supposed to try to do whatever God gave you, gifts, talents, and abilities to deliver to this world. But we peoples, and it seems like every other group that's able to really hone in on that and stay in on that wins. The Jews are like the smallest population in the country, but they still are some of the highest per capita, some of the highest per wealth, some of the highest voting, and they run things.
Oh, trust me, I'm going to CPAC in the end of the month. Like I'm doing 3 events in one weekend and one. It's about to be insane. I'll explain it off camera. And when I go to CPAC, almost half the audience has the Jewish cap on the back of their head. I hate to say it because I don't know the word, y'all. I apologize. But like the cap on the back of their head, and they be in them rooms like, okay, what? Huh? What? Just checking for what y'all about to say. And so, like, it was a very distinct difference for me when I went to the event, and all the Black people, they had brought them in this one room for basically activism and training, and basically like, hey, we need like 280 minorities across the whole United States to run in these seats. Half the other people in the back of the room were Jewish. They were kind of offended, like, well, you only going to choose the minorities? We're also minorities, right? And so it's one of those things where I want y'all to understand, they're going to put their money in it. They're going to put their foot in it. They're going to put their religion in it. Like Jewish people, it's an honor to have a business. It's an honor. Like I want y'all to really go study that. It's an honor. It is an honorable thing to do to provide for your family and give them jobs. the mindset is just different. Just different.
So, and the mindset oftentimes is crafted by the culture. And so we have to start looking at mindset and be intentional about culture. If we're not, then we're just going to continue to be stuck on the hamster wheel.
For sure, for sure. Well, we're gonna cap this here because we could go in deep on this, but tell them where they can find you and where they can harass you to make sure you finish your book. We want to see this book that's already mostly done. We want to see it put out.
Listen, I just pulled it up. I'm about to add some notes into it today, so I'm motivated and inspired to get her done. Everybody can find me. I'm the Finance Rebel all over the place. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can find me, the Finance Rebel, or you can find me. My name is Camari Ellis, which is on the screen. CAMARIELLIS for those who don't know how to spell it.
For sure, you guys. This is your girl Ericka from the Classy Climb blog. If you haven't checked out Smartphone Millionaire book, How to Invest in People, Businesses, and Real Estate from the Palm of Your Hand, check it out. We're coming out with a version 2.0 update coming up here soon. I want you to guys hit a like and drop a comment after the video renders. If you want more conversation like this from me and Mr. Ellis, let us know. All right, you guys. Thank you.